There's a lot that could impress you about the all-new Honda Prologue EV. True, it's got class-leading passenger space and clean, thoughtful design and intuitive technology. But what really sets the Prologue apart from the competition is that it's more than an EV. It's a Honda. Honda, the power of dreams. Visit honda.com/prologue to learn more.
A milestone moment creates a beautiful memory for years to come. And now's the time to celebrate it with 35% off select pieces at Blue Nile. Blue Nile makes your most valuable moments sparkle with jewelry gifts of the highest quality offered at the best price. You'll also find expert guidance and the level of convenience you'd expect from the world's leading online jeweler. Right now, take advantage of 35% off select pieces at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Transfer Show with myself, Trev, Downey, and of course with the main man for all things transfer, Mr. Dave. Dave, it's been a couple of weeks, buddy. Holidays for both of us. Nice to be back in the saddle. I would have thought, I'll be honest with you, man, that we'd be coming back to a raft of Liverpool activity. Sadly, we might as well get out of the way to start. It's not going to be one of those shows.
No, mate, to be honest, I thought we might have even a sneaky one, shall we say, through the door, but nothing is there really, nothing too much to talk about. There's other clubs doing things, but all quiet on the Western Front for us, really, isn't it?
Well, as you say, the main content of the show, as has been the case, is going to be with lots of other clubs being very busy indeed, very frustratingly so. And that's kind of where we start this week with this particular episode, with the whole Euro story, because some people will have certain elements of it. Some people will have the full skinny on it. Some people will have a very distorted take on it, depending on where they get their information from or what their inclination is as to whether they are pro or anti-FSG and so on and so forth. So in the final reckoning, he has ended up at Man United. We've all seen the pictures and the revelations and the big excited heads and the likes of Rio Ferdinand and all the rest of it. And I think, like I said to Lisa Marie on the AIP show during the week, I do understand people being a bit gutted about this one, because we all can hold our hands up, Dave, and say, look, if Real Madrid come in, they are sort of on a different plateau to everybody else in the world of football, and they're the only ones you would accept being second to after the Klopp era in terms of being attractive to a club. You'd fight them still, but you would accept if you lost out to Real Madrid. But that wasn't the case here. And not only did we not lose out to Real Madrid when we were clearly interested in this kid who covers an area of the team we'd like to address, maybe not the specific left-sided, ready to go from the start guy, but nevertheless a very high up-and-comer, the kind of person our owners are supposed to be very high on. We're just not involved at all, Dave. It looks like there was a number, a hard number for us, and we were a hard out after that number was passed. That's all I really know about it, because I will admit I was one of the ones, I didn't want to be one of those pissing and moaning people on Twitter, but I did find this one frustrating for several reasons. And I felt like from afar, the little bits I was getting from you might have been in the same camp.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things on this that you phrased it well. I mean, the one thing that you cannot doubt is Liverpool liked this player and Liverpool wanted this player. That's just not up for debate. We've seen all the articles, the various things that came out. Zero doubt Liverpool wanted this player. As it came out, opportunistic, wherever you want to file it, Trev, Liverpool wanted him. So that's the key reason, number one, for the disappointment. The second thing I also believe is, as well as, like you say, wanting an area to strengthen, we're kind of doing fuck all. So I think that goes into people's disappointment at the same time. I think that voices itself, manifests itself that way. No doubts about it for me. The thing about Euro is, I can get it either way. The one thing I would stress is, if you look at the total deal, and you've got to do that, because when you talk about the player, as you mentioned, he wanted Real Madrid. Again, there's zero doubt about that. He was ready to wait for Real Madrid. That was his pick. And that had been communicated via Mendes to everyone. So those are facts we're dealing with. The total deal, Trev. This is the big thing that I think people don't like. And I understand they don't like it, but this is where I think the logic comes in. The transfer fee seems to be, and again, you'll get different reporting either side of the channel, as it were, for various reasons, but you're talking around 55 to 60 million quid. That's the transfer fee, isn't it, for a player who's 18 and got a year left on his deal. He's got less than the normal sample size of games that Liverpool go for. Hence, that was part of the reason when we were digging, we were told opportunistic. We know Liverpool like a normal sample size, don't they? A normal level of experience, but they saw potential with this kid, no doubts about it. But what they did not see is 55 million quid, even let's go for the bottom area of what's being reported, 150k a week, Trev, and a £7.5 million payment to Euro's family. That total package, Liverpool's, and people call it nerds, the stat, whatever you want to call it, Michael Edwards, whoever, could not sort of logistically put their head around. And just to be clear as well, Trev, I know there's people going to be going, FSG apologist, all this nonsense, bedwear, as I'm saying this. I don't really care. But just to put it in context, Real Madrid thought the same as well, didn't they? Real Madrid were not prepared to go to that level for the player. Because let's be clear, if they had, he'd be there. There's no doubts about it at all. So when we talk about opportunistic and value, yes, they viewed him as a player they wanted. Zero doubt. Yes, they viewed him as an opportunistic signing. And the other part of that, Trev, is they had to look at the squad and go, it's already a bit bloated, but they do have, whether people like them or not, it's not really a point of concern, 5 existing centre-backs, don't they? VVD, Canate, Gomez, Quansah, and Van der Berg's back. Yeah, I don't know, people go, he's not, you've got to be realistic. This would have given them a 6th centre-back, which people will like and would have seen it. I'm not doubting that at all. But this is partly the way Liverpool are going to operate this summer. They will look at players, they will run the numbers, they will do the evaluations. The Up Boys have talked about this as well. They will have a ceiling on the valuation and the wages. They will not go above that ceiling. They will not get into bidding wars. Let's be honest as well, Trev. That's kind of the stuff that people have praised Michael Edwards and the virulent teams before. So it can't be a praise one minute and criticism the other. I get the criticism of you want a Joro. I would have liked Joro. I think, I've only seen him play 6 or 7 times. I'm not going to pretend I watch League One every week. He's a talent, and I've been quite impressed for his age. The one thing that I remember, I did transfer market metrics of Bart. Me and him ran the stats fully on Joro. And what we said was, there's real potential there. You cannot get away from that. However, what we also said in that pod was the price has got to be right. Because people were saying things like, I remember this is a funny one. A guy that I go to the matches with said, he's a generational talent. Have you ever seen him play? No.
Yeah.
I'm missing so, it's like, am I missing? Hype on Twitter is a different thing to the reality and what the scouts and what the analysts, etc. say. So, long story short, we wanted the player, there's zero doubts about that, so he's going to feed into the frustration. At the deal and the price United have paid overall for the total package, that was far too rich for our blood, and that's why we've not rivaled them and gone again. If you think that's silly, it was too rich for Real Madrid's blood at the same time as well, and we know what they'll throw around on players. Let's not dismiss that for a second. So I get the disappointment, but it kind of is what it is a little bit.
I think you really cover that well. And I'd be a big fan of having a line in the sand, especially when there are possibly higher priorities for us. One of those high priorities is that left-sided defender who's ready to go out of the box. And we're going to come in our last story to that. But we'll do just two more before we get to some of the players we're being linked with. The first story is about a Chelsea Academy kid, which this was entirely news to me, and I was delighted. I'd not seen this before at all, so I'm looking forward to you giving us the skinny on this. And then as well, look, just to get the disappointment out of the way before we move on to here are the ones we're still being linked with, so keep the dream alive. One of those that we were being linked with very heavily, I mentioned to you just before our mics went live, is this Kuba chap, who is, highly rated. I saw one or two people whose opinions I respect say that he had pretty much most of what you'd want, except perhaps the physicality or the size for the Premier League might be an issue. But I think a lot of people were getting excited about that last night on Twitter. So will you start there and tell us whether or not there's anything to these rumours? Have you been able to validate that? Have you heard anything concrete around that? And then move on to the slightly more upbeat news about this kid who's come from the Chelsea Academy.
Yeah, with Kubo, Real Sociedad, I think that because of our situation, players will get hammed up, as I say. Like, because people are desperate for a transfer, an average one becomes good, a good one becomes brilliant, etc. And this is not to be derogatory of Kubo, because like you said, when you run his stats and so others have been asking around, there is a lot to like about this player. And just to be clear as well, Trev, having done as we normal, dug around, harangued, harassed, there's a lot of repetition that this is a player Liverpool have asked about and inquired about in the future. We inquire about a lot of players, as we know. It doesn't mean, this is the one, shall we say. But he's a player of interest. It's important to say that to Liverpool. It's not like it's just coming from nowhere and thinking, that doesn't fit, this is a player of interest. So those are the key things to say to start with. However, the other part to that is maybe the most crucial. That inquiry was a fair while ago, Trev. It's not like one that we've been doing recently. The other side to this is a lot of the reports, the sources are coming from Japan, and sometimes that's the way it works, isn't it? It comes from the player's home country and then develops, so as we know, we've done with the likes of Diaz, etc. But having checked around what we can, and please, I'm not pretending I know any Japanese football journalists for 1 second, but having dug around where we can, all the info we're getting is it was an old inquiry. There's nothing in it currently. So whether people love Kubo, as I've seen that, I'm afraid that is one that doesn't seem to be going anywhere unless our info is completely wrong. And it is important, I think, mention, like you said, the other side of the info and the metrics tell us that for all his good progressive carries and all the positives, there are big question marks in that box around physicality. He's also not, I also want to say he's an electric winger. He's not electric, Trev. He's very good. He's creative. He's a great dribbler. Electric is not what I describe him as. He's not a pace merchant as a lot of people want. So I think those are the two sort of question marks in the box there. The positive, and honestly, I don't know why people are so anti this. It does my nutting when we do these types of things. People go, oh God, people getting excited, we're signing kids and like all this, they're never going to be anything. Like, honestly, Trev, anyone who's thinking this, like, just in case I'm not being clear, eat my ass. Honestly, like, this is a good signing. Like, this kid, and want to be really clear, I'm probably mispronouncing his name and doing him a disservice. I think it's Rion Goma, a Chelsea, and I want to be clear on this. Chelsea prodigy is a lot of the stuff we've been going. It's not just from Liverpool side, because we obviously went digging with the Chelsea to try and get some insight, and there's been a lot of praise. Now, here's the key focus, though, the thing I really want to get across. The Liverpool side or almost breathing, be hypocritical. Or like an oxymoron. I know you love your English like that, so it's a good phrase, isn't it? So what do I mean by that? Liverpool want to play this down for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you sign a scholar like this, because of the nature, it's not just an instant transfer, Trev. Apparently, it has to go through a standard 4-week process where there's certain checks done to make sure about the player's welfare. Because of his age, we've not breached anything, we've done everything correctly. So it can actually take something like 4 weeks, as we were told, to ratify this deal. So Liverpool want to be careful on that, first of all. The second big thing, which really pleases me the most, Trev, is they think they've got something special in this kid. And I mean that. The insight that we got from asking around was they really think this kid's special, like above the level they got when they had Sterling, Harvey at those ages. I'm not saying they came through our academy, but when they got them across to the academy, they really think this kid is something special. But if you say that out loud, there's massive pressure on this kid, isn't there, straight away? And we know that it's not the Liverpool way and the way they do it with their youngsters at all. It's all about keeping them grounded. So behind the scenes, they are very excited, but publicly they are doing everything to play it down because of the way it's ratified and because of the talent they think it has and not putting pressure on him. And by the way, because of all the Brexit nonsense, we can't go and get the likes of a badge settage, can we, anymore? There's no chance of going across to Barcelona's academy and pinching that top one for 1,700,000. Those deals are gone because of that. So you've got to try and get the best British, for want of a better word, youngsters you can. Sounds like a bloody reform advert, this, doesn't it, by British, but that's just the principle of what we're working with at the academy. So we have to take that into context. And in that regard, Liverpool really think they've got one. So for that, and people go, oh, it'll take ages. Well, by the way, in the season that we won the league, Harvey Elliott was 16 and made his debut in pre-season, and people were saying, I didn't think he would come to anything. Do you think he's been worth the £3 million now, Trev? I think we know the answer to that, don't we, realistically? So it's not about, I know it's not a senior side, and it's not about being disappointed, but let's not play down when we can get the top youth talent in this country over to us. That is still a good thing to be hearing.
Absolutely, it is. And I was very interested in the little thing at the end of your note here. You've already mentioned Harvey Elliott, but that one of the reasons perhaps why Liverpool are anxious to play this down unless Chelsea get a little bit greedy at the very death or something is because this guy is actually really, really highly rated. You mentioned Harvey, but there's another very, very highly rated footballer who is in the reckoning here in terms of comparisons and where this guy's level is rated to be at. Just tell folks about who he's been said to be at least as good, if not better, than at that age.
Yeah, slightly different type of player. It was important to say that was told to us, but they actually have almost higher hopes. And again, this is hopes. Nothing ever is definite with these players. We know that. There's no doubt about it. But Raheem Sterling, they do believe this kid is, this is the level of potential we're talking about. And whatever you think about Sterling, everyone's entitled to for what he happened. There's no doubt in his talent and potential at that age. We saw it, didn't we? So, yeah, honestly, when people are like, oh, this is ridiculous, like, this is a good news story. It's not the story everyone wants. I get it. It's not the senior first teamers. I get it. But that is not this kid's fault. So let's not play down when Liverpool get the top youth talents in the country. There's nothing bad about that whatsoever.
Agreed entirely. Now, back to the rumours of, like I say, more ready to go out of the box type players. There are still stories circulating around Inacio. I've seen one or two about Varela still. England's very impressive defender, Mark Way, and one or two others. Tell us about the ongoing links that still exist that have possibly a bit more to them than the Kubo one from earlier.
Yeah, it does feel like we're playing a game of foreign guess who, doesn't it? Knocking down the towers. I know it feels like that to Liverpool fans. We feel it the same when obviously a rumour gets denied, said there's nothing in it from various sources. It feels that way. So, yeah, I think, and I'll probably butcher some of these names, but Samarican, that from the Red Bull, the guy who can play centre-back and right-back, all suggestions we had was that was agent talk more than anything. There was nothing really in that. Mark Gay is an interesting one that he is a player that Liverpool have inquired about, we were told before, asked about his situation with Palace. However, nothing has happened about that for some time. They also asked about Eze at the same time. Inacio's a funny one. Just to be clear, there's 4 different journalists now who said there's nothing in Inacio. But every time, I think it's CM Journo from Portugal reports the Inacio to Liverpool story. So they're getting the money's worth on their gossip columns out of it. But from all our sides, it's a nothing. But, I mean, you can reel them off now, can't you, for Ray, or all the players that have been denied. I know it comes back to that question, Trev. Who is it then? Who is it that we want? And I get it. Christ, if we knew, we'd just tell you, people. Like, if we knew that, it's not a secret sauce or the Pepsi Max recipe or anything like that. If we knew, we would tell you. And I get that feeling, I do. But the key things that are consistently now coming out of the club, and again, whether people believe this, we know that the old MO, and I know Michael Edwards isn't in charge, it's Richard Cheese before anyone says that, is a bit about disinformation at times. Completely, I understand that. But the briefings out the club, and there is a fact to this, it's a bloated squad, Trev.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
That is important to say. It's a bloated squad. Now, just before everyone jumps on this and go, there's a lot of bodies there. I'm not saying about whether you rate them or not, but there is a lot of bodies in certain positions like midfield, whether you feel they're good enough. And I understand if people think Morton, Carvalho come back, Van der Berg are not good enough long-term, if people are entitled to that opinion. However, what they need to keep in mind is there's now 3 more bodies back in the squad, and they're getting a chance to show Arne Slot what they can do, aren't they? As we also know, Liverpool have been clear that Slot wants to run the rule over them at the same time. So that plays a part, first of all. The second thing is, Trev, people want to see outgoings, and I get that. You feel that very much the briefing is outgoings to start any incomings because of that bloatedness. Look at the centre-back situation, Trev. Everyone's like, well, move Van der Berg on, get this going. And I understand that in essence, but let's play the reality. Centre-backs available right now to Arne Slot to work with. Jarell Quansah, Sepp Van der Berg. The end. Okay? Virgil's on holiday. Gomez is on holiday. Thinking of missing the other centre-back there. Kanate on holiday, isn't he? So he's only... You can't just take one centre-back to America, can he? That's the nature. So that's going to cause a bit of a delay in that regard, if it is that player. Also, if Slot is going to run the rule over them, well, he's got to see them in America a little bit, hasn't he? Continue to work with them, see them in more match situations. That's just the nature of it. So whether we like it or not, and let's be clear, me and you both want signings. We both expected one through the door. We would like that. We're not debating that. But you've got to look at it in terms of what they're saying about it's a bloated squad. So they want to shift players. But at the same time, before they do that, they want to be certain that Arne Slot isn't after keeping that player at Anfield. Then they've got to do the deal. Then they've obviously got players still to come back. So they can't just play with 6 players in America, can they, etc., and that type of thing. All this happens on that backdrop. And by the way, in case you're thinking that's nonsense, Dave, that's a load of shit, well, Richard Hughes told you how he saw the window going. He was quite clear at that press conference of Arne Slot where he said, July, I expect to be quiet because of the Copa, the Euros, and the Olympics. It'll really pick up in August and probably be a big crescendo, as he said, at the end of August. He was really clear on that. Now, what if Richard Hughes was telling the truth, Trev? What if that was the plan, the way they looked at it and do that, and everyone's going mental, where he's not lied to you, he's told the truth? Who knows? You know, time will tell on that one, as they say. But also the opportunistic nature, it does depend on what becomes available. You never know what will come up in the transfer market. And anyone that's debating me on that, well, don't pretend you knew that Anthony Gordon would just get offered to us all of a sudden because of Newcastle's FFP. Yeah, Lenny Yoro, no one fully saw that situation. We all thought he'd kind of run it down or he'd go on the cheap to Real. No one knew that United would come with a big, massive, ridiculous sort of package overall. That's the talk about opportunistic. And when you say opportunistic, I tell you what, Trev, I don't care what anyone says. No one fully knows what Arne Slot thinks at the moment. Arne Slot, for all we know, might think, I'm all right with them 5 centre-halves, by the way. You might disagree with me. It doesn't really matter if anyone disagrees with me. We don't know what Arne Slot thinks is the point I'm making right now. So all that, when the tour, the delays, the players coming back, the ability to sell, the opportunistic nature, it's not what anyone wants to hear. I get it. But really, it's why we're not seeing too much happen at this moment in time.
I think it's really good you brought us round to those Richard Hughes quotes because, yeah, disinformation, yeah, press conferences can be full of guff. But why say something so specific as that, if not to at least try to alleviate some fan angst a bit about why things are not happening in July? I do like the sound of a crescendo, you know? I do like the sound of a busy August. Like you said there, as you're outlining the squad and its perhaps bloated nature, it's not like we don't have good footballers to begin the season with anyway. So unless we're afflicted by an early spate of injuries, we're good to go from the start of the season with some very good footballers to make up our 11. So we don't need to have signings having the full pre-season with us. It's not a necessity. Obviously, it would be nice. We'd all love to have 2 or 3 new lads bedded in, but that is not going to be the case now. It's tours coming up quick and fast, and it's about, as you say, keeping an eye on anything that comes up by way of an opportunistic grab, and then if not, to hope that there is a strategy in place for this August recruitment, and like you said, also the comparative amount of clear out that's going to need to happen. We know, for example, that our 2 pals who did such sterling work to get us towards Champions League football a couple of years ago, Phillips and Williams, may finally get their chance to leave now. I think, for example, with Reece Williams, there are a couple of links at least. I haven't heard anything concrete for Nat Phillips, but I, like you, I assume, I'm really hoping that those 2 boys are probably the early exits that definitely get to go and have a career somewhere else.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you will see that. I mean, the latest with that was they did reject a bid from Trabzonspor, which I think a lot of us kind of felt that all the reports, Liverpool valued him at £8 million and Trabzonspor were offering about half that. And a lot of people, similar to me, were thinking, is Nat Phillips really worth £8 million? Like, for the sake of it, just wangle 5, etc., and just move on type of thing. Yeah, Reece Williams, the latest, James Pearce even had it today, that there's quite a lot of interest in him. To be honest, Trev, if Nat, Williams and Cometio are still at the club come the end of the summer, you would ask questions, wouldn't you? We've got all these laptop guys, the right people, the structure apparently in place. We've got to trust it. If those 3 are still at Anfield come the start or the end of the summer, the end of the window, it's right to ask questions, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. It is, and we're in this hellhole of a period of the summer where your instincts are to scream and fire toys from the pram, and your sensible brain tells you not to, and to be patient, and there's good reason for patience, and it's just that sort of, it's a little bit torturous if we're honest, especially when we're doing a show like this one, which is all about people wheeling and dealing. You want to see us at least involved in some of the sale part of things at this stage, sooner, hopefully, rather than later. Now, like you said earlier on, to sort of counteract the comparative quietness in and around Anfield, there is quite a lot of activity going on elsewhere. We're going to start with United and move on then to Arsenal. Two teams no Liverpool fan would want to see scooping up players that Liverpool have been linked with and would clearly benefit from. Now, we've already spoken about Yaro, but there's the Calafiori thing at Arsenal. But let's start with United, because there's a lot going on here. There has been some movement away, or like final sort of sign-offs and people leaving. There are lads being linked with other clubs who are currently on United's books, and there are a few lads in the door. Yaro is the big one. As you said, a huge kind of financial package all round. But there's also Xerxes in and confirmed. So talk us through United's business, which, like I say, will be a source of frustration for Liverpool fans. Just to see them getting good players is a worry. If for no other reason than that, it's a little bit irksome.
Yeah, no doubts about it. I think it's that frustration when people are reviewing United's business. Like you said, the one's confirmed. We said Yoro. Xerxes is in the door estates. They got him from Bologna. So they've got the forward they've been looking for. They shipped out Mason Greenwood, so he is now a Marseille player. So that is done. It's quite clear as well, having got Yoro through their connections with Jorge Mendes, they are trying to use him, and to be honest, Jorge's trying to use them to move Ugarte there, but it is a bit of cash flow issues for United. You have to remember that at the same time. United went really close to the FFP line, shall we say. That got confirmed, and they didn't go into the other 6 club issues, but they really flirted with that line. So it's not like United are going to come in, in this season, Ratcliffe's going to spend 300 million. Like, forget that. They've still got to balance things out. And that's why you're starting to see a few, can we push people this way? So, Wan-Bissaka, very much digging around. Yeah, West Ham are interested. United would do that because he's only got a year left on his deal, and it doesn't look like there's an appetite from the players' side or United side to renew that. And it's back to London move for the player as well, so I could see that one getting done. This one you'll love, Trev, because there's a bit of drama to this. McTominay. Scott McTominay. Now, technically, he's got a year left, but it's actually 2, because one of those where he's got a year left on his deal, and the club has a 12-month option. Now, United's the publicly playing the no, he's, this, here we won't want to sell him, but he's a used product, so it's pure profit on the books if they sell him. And his girlfriend plays a part, Trev, because, stick with this.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.